Well, good morning, darlings, and thank you for joining us on Judith and Wallace Psychic Mediums and our special, fabulous guest today, Dr. Lena Rodriguez, who's on air with us, and we're very excited about that. In fact, we've been having a little off-air chat and bombarding the poor girl with a million bloody questions, and I think she's sort of like, whoa, what the? So welcome to all of you in the world, wherever you are, and you are all over the world, I know that. A good many of you in the United States, and thank you. You know I love you all, and I thank you for joining us. And we are going to, the format's a little bit different today. We're going to be having a chat, asking questions, hoping that we have enough sense to shut up and listen. And because we do get, a bit carried
away. The great Aussie challenge.
And so a little bit of housekeeping first. If you love the channel, go over and subscribe. Please subscribe. We're wanting to get to 100,000 subscribers. That's a long way off, isn't it, darlings? But, look, you've got our big goals. We've certainly got them. We're not losing them at our age. We're adding to them. And if you also like us, you can go and, buy us a coffee. So we'd appreciate that too. That helps, keep us alive, keep us fed, keep us going. Well, at the moment, it wouldn't keep a sick canary in seed, but
yeah,
better, and it's growing, and we're going to be, so much better. But let me give a short introduction to our special guest today. Oh, I'm so excited to have her on.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Rodriguez, because she talks about things that are close to my heart. I studied and did cultural anthropology. She did sociology. So much of what she talks about, I really get it on a more academic level, and that's fabulous. I feel like we're, I was meant to come across her. And but it's really, really exciting to have you on, Lena. Thank you so much for joining us and helping us, because it does help us. And we're very, very excited about that. So we're very pleased to have you on, and we hope we don't run over top of you and swamp you. But, butt in, tell us to shut up. And,
sure.
It's important. Now, Judy's on the air, back on the air with, and she was at the weekend, but we'll give her another plug. She's back on the air, being well at the moment, and which is absolutely fabulous. So, Judy, thank you for joining us as well and being here. And I guess, we'll kick off with maybe, I think, just maybe asking Lena. It's okay if we call you Lena, isn't it?
Of course.
All right. Okay, that's great.
Or Dal or Pet.
Or Dal
I answer to all of them.
Or sweetheart, or love, or love, as we do down under. We have all of those things that we
on the
love
feed this week said it was Dame Edna and her clandestine, affair with Charles or something that produced the two. I thought it was beautiful. Yes, Dame Edna's still alive, channeling through us, and that's fabulous. Thank you for the comments from whoever said that, because I had a chuckle. So I think start off with, people are always interested, how did you get to do this? I mean, how did you go from sociologist to tarot person, tarot reader,
Right. Well, it was 2016 or something when the beast came down the golden escalator or whatever he did, right? So you know how everyone was freaked out, this guy, Donald Trump, going, and I was shrieking and flailing and carrying on. And I thought, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to have any friends left. Like I need an outlet. Okay.
It'll be an exile.
But I didn't think YouTube or anything. Anyway, So I'm parked up one night and up comes Kirsten Langston, Third Eye Champagne. She was the very first to do political tarot, right?
Oh, wow.
And I thought, political tarot? You know, what? So I watched her and she did this amazing read on Steve Bannon then. And she swore like a sailor and she was really good. And I thought, far out. I love this. And I actually wrote to her,
Oh, wow.
hello. Like, I love what you do. Would, would you mind if I did something like that? And she was very encouraging. She said, no, no, do it, do it. So I dragged the tarot cards out from under the bed. You know how you always have 3 sets tucked away in a drawer.
Yep.
And I started, so it's all thanks to Kirsten Langston. She was truly amazing, and I admire her to this day.
And where does she live, Lena?
She's American.
Oh, she's American. Okay.
In California. So she was the first. Then she used to get Linda G on when Linda wasn't known.
Oh,
She said, "Oh,
wow.
this is my friend Linda," and Linda had come on every now and again and do amazing Linda stuff. So it was Kirsten who started, and then for the first year or two, we could count the number in the political tarot. Now it's blown out in a really
Yes.
good way,
Yes. Oh,
I
that's
think it's great.
And did that scare you a little? Were you frightened about that? Was that, because sometimes people watching go, oh, I'd love to do that, but oh, I couldn't. So did it
I
sort of,
think because I'd been a lecturer for years and years and years, and I was sort of used to standing up in front of hundreds of people and blah, 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 babbling on. And so it didn't have that sort of fear for me, it might for some other people, in the sense I kind of like the anonymity of YouTube too. You're sort of there in your jammies, let's face it, going out to the world, and somehow it works.
Mm, mm,
love
mm.
it?
Yeah.
And it was interesting, wasn't it, when we had a little chat and we decided that stop chatting and let's make this live so people can hear us.
Yeah.
And I found, or I find the whole area of that we're political and we're talking about events and talking about situations and things like that. And here we are, three of us, and we live in Australia. And
Mm.
so why would we as mediums, psychics,
Yeah.
why would we want to be involving ourselves in a country like America specifically? And that's where all the focus is at the moment. All right, we put in smatterings of other things, but here we are down under. We've got this really big focus that we're all watching all the nuances, all the things about America and what's happening in America, and we're all getting, channeled all sorts of information, little bits here, a lot over here, and it's just America. And I think when I look at it, I think lucky Americans, really, in that here's just 3 people in Australia, and I know, there's a couple of others, but here we are focusing on and have been given and consistently given information to be able to help, and it is help, a country as big as America in information, what's being loaded from spirit because of the changes in the world. And we know there's changes everywhere, but it seems that America, because it's so large and just has so much, and the energies are so big, that it's almost like we're spending our time trying to calm this storm that is raging
Do you think that
day in and day out and day in and day out?
Look, sorry, Wallace.
Do you think that? Do you think that's the case, Lena? What's your view on that, love?
Well, yeah, I think America occupies a huge space in the international sphere, you know, geopolitically, etc. But because we all grow up on a diet of American popular culture and stuff, and in Australia, we're all old enough to remember all the way with LBJ. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right? Conscription in Australia. That was the slogan when we were kids. And so we've been forced to be in tandem in a way with the US for so many, well, since the war. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I think it is undergoing a radical change now.
God, yeah.
And weirdly, I think we've been sort of plucked from the universe, if you like, to help everyone try and process it, including ourselves. You know,
Absolutely.
every day is a brand new day when you look at your news feed, you know. But we have this role of being outsiders so we can see things clearly. And we're also, all of us sitting here now, insiders because we're obsessed and we follow it all. So it's like in anthropology, you know, we have the insider-outsider perspective.
Yes.
You know, which is really valuable, I think.
And I, you know, from my perspective, which I think I bring something else to it insofar as I lived in America when I went there in 2008 during the global financial whole thingo. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating, all the stuff that went on. Obama was just coming into power, and you know, he was just about to be elected. Everybody said he wouldn't, but he was. Amazing. And he came into power, and I was there for 4 years. So I got to learn and understand and process, because being an Australian and being brought up on a diet, what was very interesting was that when the Americans spoke to me, I knew more about bloody America than they did.
Exactly.
And
Americans say that to me all the time.
Because we were brought up on a diet of it,
Yeah.
all our television, we just knew so much about America. So they were sort of like,
I know.
that. Well, we weren't little Americans, but we were brought up on a diet of it all. That's where everything came from, even the film industry, until we developed our own and,
yes,
marked for
exactly.
ourselves. So it was all a diet of America. We just knew a lot about it. And I knew a lot about America, probably because I've been interested and I'm a busybody. Mrs. Jessup. I knew quite a bit about it. So being there for 4 years, one of the things that really sorted itself for me was that I realised that we actually have an entirely different psyche.
It's true.
I always thought, and all the Australians always thought, who were sort of our age, and, the baby boomers and all, we sort of, I think, in a way, always thought that Americans were like us. And in some ways they are, but in lots of ways they're not. And so
in key ways, I think we're different.
Get that perspective and be on the outside, able to look at it, not just from a different perspective, but with a different psyche.
Yes.
And I think the Americans say, even now, and I go, fuck, what the?
I know. And it all comes to rest, I think, around the issue of healthcare, right?
Yes.
So for people from other places watching, particularly Americans, the Australian healthcare system is funded by a 1.5% levy. So on your tax every year, 1.5% is charged. If you earn over 200 grand, it's 2% or whatever. The point is, I've never heard an Australian complain
No,
about paying a Medicare levy.
correct.
No, that's
Never.
yep.
Of any class, any economic group. Now, why I'm singling that out is because this is where the difference in psyche is.
Yes,
We feel better knowing that everyone is looked after on that base level, right?
correct.
We can go to bed at night
Yep.
knowing if someone needs an emergency surgery tonight, they will get it and they won't have to pay for it.
Yes.
Whereas the American psyche, the rugged individualist, I call it the Marlboro Man syndrome.
Yeah, that's a good
The
one.
Marlboro Man.
You remember the Marlboro Man? Yeah.
And this is coming back to drag them underwater now, this individualism.
I totally agree with that, because when I lived there, one of the things that I struggled with almost from day one was that everywhere you went, when you went out to dinner, when you were with friends, when you went to a restaurant, when you just met up for coffee, fuck, the whole bloody, whole thing around healthcare and all that was just, it was never ending. I thought, what is it? What you focus on more?
Yes.
The more you
And,
get,
and they're a million miles from universal healthcare now.
oh,
You know,
they're just
I can't imagine the
make a step
stress.
forward, they take 10 back.
It is, I think this is the key issue, because you can't be free, whatever that means, and it's a complex word, but you certainly can't be free if you do not have universal health care.
Well, I had to go.
You can't, because you're a victim.
I was on her health
Yeah.
care when I was there and covered by that and the enormous amount of money she paid out of her wages for, this health care. And you had all these different hospitals who catered for the different insurances. And it was, I was like, what the hell's going on? And I was pulling out a tree stump in the back of the yard, and I fell back and I, hurt my wrist. And I didn't know whether I'd broken it or what I'd done. It was certainly a lot of pain. Anyway, off I go to the hospital that was connected to the health care. And, to have it seen to. And here's the thing. The insurance side of it perpetuates ongoing costs.
Absolutely. And I'd go as far as to say it's not a healthcare system, it's a health insurance industry.
Absolutely.
Yes, that's
an industry.
Right. I went, they took a thing, an x-ray of it. I hadn't broken it. I was in a lot of pain. They gave me some stuff for it. And then the next thing, this doctor waltzes in and he says, tells me all these things about, and we've booked you in next week or whatever for, bone specialist. I said, what the bloody hell for?
I haven't broken it.
Oh, well, it's better if you go and have it seen to, and la 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 la. I thought, what a rort! What a
it's
rort.
A total rort. So it's overkill or nothing.
No way.
Yeah.
And I experienced it firsthand. So it's not just, pontificating over what you think you see externally. When you live in it, it's bloody scary, and it's never ending. And when Lois got pneumonia, get this: if you get pneumonia in Australia and it's bad, you'll be in hospital. You'll be carted off in the ambulance
for as long as it takes,
and you'll be in hospital. Lois got pneumonia, and I had to take her every day into the hospital to sit in the fucking waiting room to then go
insane.
to a chair for her to have, a drip thing. And I thought, she's got pneumonia. What the?
I know, I know. We can't actually conceive of it unless you live through it like
It's
that.
unbelievable.
So let's talk about that and let's have a look at that in context of that of what's going on with so many areas in America. And of course, Lena, you're right now in that the big hit now with all the cutbacks, Medicaid, the bill, which Americans won't see the aftermath of that for a little for some time.
Yeah.
But when we think about that, the psyche, the mind is already playing tricks with people, what they don't have, what they're not going to have, how that's going to be for them, and this whole area of lack that's coming up that overflows because it's an energy, and everything is, as we know, but that then is now going to overflow into how they view. That's going to be the focus. So every time I think about things that we say and where we are in this giving predictions or giving information that flows without vetting it, you look at it and you go, well, there's got to be now some sort of schooling or some sort of positiveness in us taking on this responsibility, if you like, of our information as in our areas as psychic mediums.
Well, here's what I think about that in general terms. What I'm sure you get asked too, but I've been asked countless times, when is this going to end?
Yes, correct.
When is Trump going to go? When is this going to end? I think it's the wrong question.
I do too.
Right.
I do too.
Because the real answer is when Americans refuse to take it anymore and start thinking differently and demanding accountability from their representatives.
I agree with you.
Because, this whole thing about Trump, the title of today's show is, Trump's new playbook, the fart of the deal. It's always coming out with, all these, all this crap. I mean, I think the man suffers from, an overworked area of flatulence. It's all, apart from in his mind, his brain fart as well. But it's just like, this stuff, the ice thing, I think the best thing that happened was that kid who developed that app that told everybody where ice was going to be, and they try to really corner him and say that he's interfering with due process. No, he's not. He's telling people where it is to avoid it. Look after yourself, and that's what they've got to do. They've got to come up with more ways to combat this and look after themselves. When you look at Bernie Sanders when he got out there and 36,000 people turned up to listen to him talking about
over and over.
Over and over.
Yeah, not just once.
And the oligarchs and all the rest of it. And this nonsense with Musk and he's, forming a new party or whatever else. Well, you and I both know that the muskrat spends all his time on ketamine. So this is one of his fancy dreams. I won't say the other word.
Exactly.
It's one of his
And this is the other cultural difference too, that America needs to revisit what it praises and what it worships, which is money and rich people being seen as better than other people.
And these
that's why the guy in New York,
that's another conversation.
That's why Mamdani is going to be there, because he doesn't believe in, you don't have to be any more than a millionaire. You don't have to be the billionaire.
And I'm glad someone's finally said it.
Yes.
right?
Yeah, name
By
the
all
elephant in the
means,
room.
work your way to the top of the greasy pole and become a millionaire. But no one, he said, no one needs to be a billionaire. And he's right. And what I'd like to see, this is my dream, is people with obscene wealth. We're not talking about people who are just comfortably off. We're talking obscene wealth to be shamed into supporting major things. So Jeff Bezos's wife and stuff, and those women who went into space for 10 minutes, you could have, kept Snap going in 10 states with what that little 10 minutes cost.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd like to see the public social media stuff go, well, what are you doing with your money?
Oh,
So
totally
you could
correct.
change things for people.
Yeah.
I
Well,
agree with
I
that.
mean, I think that you've just said something that we can all participate in as well. I mean, if we're to be of help and useful, then
Yeah.
we've got to tell it. And I said this to Judith, a
And
couple of weeks ago. We've got
yeah,
to, our platform has to be, in a way, it has to be confrontational insofar as it confronts what's been said. It confronts the crap. It confronts the bullshit. And it exposes it. And even if we're a small voice, small voices can gain, momentum. We need to
for
tell it as
sure.
it is. I love the things that you say, and I
For,
love that this week when you said about, are they in for a, not a, you didn't call it a civil war, but an uprising, so to speak. And I
it
think that
has
they
to change.
miscalculated.
It has to change big time.
Oh,
Yeah.
betcha.
It can't just flip-flop back to what the Dems were
No,
prior to this.
no, the Dems are
It's
too weak, but
Americans aren't good at a couple of things. One is looking out and comparing what they do with other people because they're
yes,
used to being told from the cradle to the grave, this is the greatest country on earth. So people are literally nursing their dying babies in the Appalachians go, at least I'm American, right? So they've got to question their own origin story.
yes,
They're really bad at questioning the origin story.
correct.
Like
Yes.
we are not perfect as Australians, particularly with our history of how Indigenous people have been treated,
Absolutely.
but we're much more honest about our convict past, for example. And so if we meet some
Grassroots. We're
Australians, if we
more
meet
honest
someone
about where
who's,
we came from.
yeah, but if someone's ultra rich, that doesn't impress us. If the person's a wanker, we'll just say, gee, he's a wanker. It wouldn't
Absolutely.
matter how much money he had.
No,
He doesn't get
we
special
don't put him on a
treatment because
pedestal
he's,
and worship him. We if he's worthwhile, we'll give him some kudos. But you know,
yeah,
it's like, I used to say to people, and I upset a few people when I said it, when, people used to go on about Gina Reinhardt. I said, she inherited her father's money. He was the smart one. She's a dumbass. And
yeah.
she's vindictive, and she hasn't used her money well. I don't like her. But it's just my personal opinion, and people have gone, Gina Reinhardt, and I think to myself, look, anybody
No, I
who
think
goes over
she's
and
an
spends their time
appalling
in
creature.
Mar-a-Lago and sucks up to this bloke has got to be questioned.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's a
And Gina
fact.
goes, she wants to
So
pay
I
Australian
think that
workers what African miners get paid. She's appalling. She
No,
doesn't
she's
yeah,
even have a
she's bloody
redeeming feature.
disgusting. So I'm just
and
saying,
I think
back up what you said about, we
Just because she's
don't
rich.
just go,
yeah,
oh, look, there's another god that's born, because
No.
he's got a price tag on him. And that's what they're doing
Yeah.
in America, and they've got to stop doing that.
Absolutely stop doing
They've
that
got
and
to
big
I
time.
think,
stop
and it's
doing it.
really interesting the conversation that we've been having, because when I went off to bed last night, one of the big things that came and stayed with me for hours, I couldn't get to sleep, with
Mm.
this whole area of power, power, no power. And this whole thing, and you've touched on it today, so, it consolidates when psychic mediums or people get together of the same ilk in how what's being given to us. And certainly I last night went to bed with this whole area of self-power, of if we don't help move this psyche to that I am powerful as a person and I can change things.
Yes.
And if we've got to tell ourselves a million times a day that we are the most amazing and gifted self-healers ever, that if we don't get down this track in feeding all this other, but helping people with, even if it's exercises or whatever it is that they've got to do to take back their power. Because if the focus continues to be on all of what he says, doesn't say,
and everything's a reaction. Yeah.
But if it doesn't, we've got to help people shift away and take control. There was a woman around that I used to talk to, and we're talking many years, a lot of years. I used to talk to a woman in England a lot, and she was probably in those days England's top medium. And I used to talk to her, and one of the things that she did, which was I used to go on and was really fantastic, was this area she'd put on, say, like, let's just pick a time and say 8 o'clock at night or on a Tuesday night or whatever. She would put out that everybody could phone in. You Zoom and you Skype them, but everybody could phone in to this. And it wasn't about phoning in and having a pity party. It was to phone in so everybody could connect to the energy. It was amazing. And thousands of people, like the people in America that are in the streets and taking to the streets to have their say. And as long as it's all in a really, really positive way, then they're on the right track. But the minute they get off into hate or any of those areas, they move themselves outside the vortex. So how do you keep
That's a really good point.
In the vortex?
Absolutely.
And I think
if they can also have small areas, like get communities going, get things going that you can actually do, because where it's this positive energy, and we're not, it's a bit like, and we're not going to bring up a lot of religion, but, prayer. People used to say, well, does prayer really work? It's an energy. If everybody gets together, what does the Bible say? And I'm not going to go bit by how it's word by word, but those that meet in my name. And so how do we take what you've got, put it all into this one area of positiveness and watch things change?
I think we've got a head start, but we need to probably update it. So the head start is, look how connected we are now in terms of the world for free on YouTube and other platforms. It's amazing.
Yes,
it's absolutely
I agree.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But what we're probably, and this conversation is sort of making me think, we need to, because we're mortals and we fall into these patterns too, like scrambling and reacting to what atrocity came out overnight.
Correct.
To dedicate these times, and maybe we should start doing that and saying, like Tuesday at 8, whatever time that is for you, everyone is focusing in their own way.
Yes.
On the greater good. I think that's a really good idea.
Yes.
I think Linda does that. She does prayers.
Pam Gregory does that too. She has she does that. And I think it's
just think on a small way is that you can do this. You can, put it out there. It's, I think it's really positive.
I think it's absolutely positive. But the sort of second wing to that is too many people are struggling on their own, and particularly older women
Yes.
who tend to choose to live alone, probably like you guys for many obvious reasons. But you guys are out there and also being twins and everything else. Your story is a bit different. But people need to find allies. That's my point.
Correct. Absolutely.
Allies in the way they think.
Yes.
Because particularly we have audience where many of our people are blue dots in a red sea. Find the other blue dots
Yes. Correct.
in your
Correct.
red sea.
And the point you're
Because
making
feeling
is,
alone is crushing to the soul. Choosing to
totally.
be on your own is a completely different
Absolutely.
ballgame. But
Absolutely.
it's really important to ally your voice with other voices.
Yes.
It's like singing in the shower versus joining a community choir.
Yes. Correct. And I think that
You know?
that's absolutely spot on, Lena. And I've been thinking for quite a while, is one of the things that is really good, really good. I think it's a real positive. Trump started out with a very, very big base of people who he could drive a wedge between. He had this divisiveness that he had been feeding for a long, long time over Biden's presidency down in,
Yep.
Mar-a-Lago or wherever. He was creating and festering this divisiveness. And what he thought when he came into power was that to a large extent he had achieved that us and them thing. But
Yes.
what he's finding now, wrong. What he's finding now is the us and them are joining, and they're becoming a community of like-minded people who are sharing
That's
and
the
finding
key.
in each other those things that concern each other. They don't agree on everything, but if your healthcare and your kids in danger, I've got kids, mine are too. We need
Yes,
to chat about
hello, you've got common ground.
it.
And I think that's so true. So I grew up in Queensland in the Peterson years, right?
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Right. So all jokes aside, I just need to explain for the international viewers. So, we have states, the premier of each state is very powerful. And it was Trump before Trump, wasn't it?
Oh,
Yep.
Peterson, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
met him
He
personally.
would talk in
Politics.
word salad,
Yeah.
right? And people thought he was fabulous. He did the us and them. He'd constantly talk about separating from the rest of Australia.
Yeah.
He'd say, those Southerners,
Yeah.
they're not like us, those Southerners, meaning the rest of Australia, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And people would ask him questions, and he'd say his standard response was, don't you worry about that.
Yeah.
Now, people voted for this man for 20 years.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
And we ended up in a police state because that's where this stuff goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could be arrested for having hair touching your collar. You could be arrested for anything, right? So when Trump came on the scene, even though the scale is very different, everything he does was the same thing Peterson did because it worked.
Yes.
The more moronic but strong you sound, the better it is for most people who follow looking for the strong man, right?
Yes.
And
That's
people
correct.
mistake belligerence and ignorance and bloody mindedness for strength,
Yes.
right? They mistake that thing.
Well,
He says things no one else would say. He's
He's
really strong.
Yes. Yes,
Right?
they look at and see their view of it is so clouded. It's like people who are in a different, it's like we're all living in this alternate universe.
Yes.
We sort of look and go, where the hell how can you look at that and go, that sounds normal,
No.
that looks normal, or that's a normal act?
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much, isn't there?
like
you
the
know,
other
the
day
Doge thing that came out.
The other day,
Sorry?
I asked the bill, and he
Yes.
was in Iowa or wherever he was, and Margaret Mike was there and handed him the gavel, and he's going, he's like some freaking kid. I'm like, I was horrified. I was like, this
Well,
is
that
your
takes
president.
us, here's a segue, that takes us to the evangelical stuff, right?
Yes, I know.
So you have this monstrous partnership between Trump, who's actually just a New York playboy, like shallow, would
he's a
be
felon.
to church twice in his
A
life,
felon, and yeah.
and the evangelicals. They're not a natural fit, but it worked to give them power. So because his people said, get the evangelicals on board and you'll be fine. And it was fine in the sense it gave the evangelicals power, and then more power and more power. And so now you have a situation like women's health care in the US. It's not even right to say it's 1950s. So we're old enough to remember what it was like in Australia before Whitlam and before there was legal termination, etc. Because I remember in Queensland, women, it was called senior auntie in Sydney. That was code for having an abortion, right? You had to leave the state. And I know my mum and other women, no one had any money, but you put your bit in to help Yvonne go and see her auntie in Sydney because you couldn't do it in Queensland. Right?
No, that's correct.
That's correct. We're not. I think the really good thing that I'm hearing here, and I guess it's another reminder for me too, that what we're talking about is in lots of ways, we're talking about our journey through, not on such a large scale, but our journey through the same types of nonsense, we'll call it. We'll just label it nonsense. The same types of nonsense. Now, that's where the divisive line comes in. Our psyche kicked in, and we did the things, made the decisions, went into, action mode to stop those things from continuing. What we've got in the United States is a situation where
it's going backwards.
They're not.
No.
They're only just learning. They're only just starting to look at
that process,
their own power and how that could work and how it is working. They get a little taste of that a lot of people get out there, and they're amazed in some ways that there's all these people out there that think the same as they do.
Exactly. And then that gives you energy for the change.
Correct.
Yep. But I'd like to say something here about leadership. So when Whitlam came in the early 70s, and remember his cabinet, they were the smartest. I mean, he started the Ministry for Women, but they were all smart people. What I think did was he lifted the game up. And most of Australia actually wasn't on board. We've got to be honest about our own history.
No, that's right.
Conversation. Oh, what do you mean a single mother's pension? That means sluts will get paid. No, let's not pretend. Okay. So people fought these in their heads. They didn't go in the streets to vote. He just lifted up everything. No fault divorce, contraception for unmarried women. Prior to that, you couldn't get contraception. He did all these social things, right? And people went, oh, it's the end of the Australian family. And then 2 years later, they went, oh, this is so much better. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had leadership at a critical time that was higher than the critical mass, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
He lifted the game and we caught up.
Yeah, that's right. That's correct.
And you haven't got that.
What the Dems haven't got
Yes.
is mind-bending, ferocious, smart, visionary leadership.
They do.
They have not
Right.
got.
They have, like, AOC,
Oh yeah,
all
the
the women there.
potential.
But
The
see, it's the
potential's
whole
there.
potential.
this psyche thing. All these women,
Okay, so
they have to fight like
you would
buggers
have
to get a
heard me,
voice.
and I say this on my own videos a lot. My bitch is with the leadership as such.
Yes.
The second tier are brilliant. They're all there. The Pete Buttigieg, AOC, Katie Porter, Sheldon Whitehouse, they go on and on. They've got the right people there, but the old guard won't let them off
And
the
I
leash.
heard,
And if they don't let them off the leash, they will die in the saddle.
That is correct.
they'll
That's
quit.
correct.
I-
And our good thing about us is we can get out there and say, and we can talk about this today, and we can get into that because we're on a, as we've been saying, on a smaller scale. We
have
had the experience.
Yeah.
We know. We're looking at.
Yeah.
Do we get frustrated? Yes. Do we sort of go, look, we could hit you all over the head. What's the matter with you? You're looking through the looking glass. What are you, Alice in bloody Wonderland or something? But we're not talking through our old wazoo, and for those that don't know what that means, it's the other end of your body. But we're not all talking because we don't know what it all means and what it was. Because the three of us, amongst the largest amount of people born on planet Earth, called the baby boomers, know exactly what this is. So if we can get out there and talk to all the baby boomers 1946 to 64, if you're all listening, get your A into gear, because you've got the experience. You've got other countries behind you. You've got the power.
For power. The hour for power. There we go.
This is, what's the saying from one of the
we
shows?
should start a new religious movement.
Cometh the hour, cometh the man.
You're
right. It is. Cometh the hour, cometh the man.
Sorry, Wallace, what was that?
His crap about a new political party. Let's start a new bloody, evangelical party. Let's go back to, hour of power. We've certainly got to bloody, get our, and I'm encouraging. I mean, maybe the blokes won't do it, but certainly the women are a little bit more for. The women have to get out. You've got to get out there. Look what they did when Kamala Harris was running. I mean, God, where are all those things happening now? I haven't seen any of those. Big get-togethers over the air and the Zoom calls, and I haven't seen any of that happening. Where are all those people?
Yes, exactly. And then the other thing the Dem leaders do really badly is they discourage other Dems from going on right-wing things, right?
Yes.
Now, I think that's a mistake. I believe you've got to meet people where they are. Okay. Now, Pete Buttigieg, for example, he would go on Fox.
Yeah, he loves it.
And be, his charming himself, and he very cleverly would, simplify what was happening and make it up. They would get 2,000 phone calls at Fox going, oh, who was that lovely young man you had on? Right? But you know what the Dem leadership did? They banned him from going on Fox.
It's just nonsense. I saw a documentary one time on the old guard, the Dems, the old guard, and, some of the ones further, and this whole, pecking order thing. And I thought, what the fuck are you talking about? What is that bullshit?
I know. I know, because they're such talented people.
I've been here longer than you, and I need to sit back and wait till you decide that I should have the bloody job, or you die, you silly old bastard.
I know. And look at that young guy, David Hogg. Do you know his story? He was in that terrible shooting in Florida, the school shooting. Remember that?
Yep.
And he just got a job that was a voluntary job in the DNC, the National Council and stuff. Well, Pelosi and the others hauled his ass out of there they couldn't cope because he was plain speaking, right? No, what they should have done, he'd be perfect to talk about gun safety. Roll him out all over America. He was very articulate, very good. He's still young. No, they killed him. Right? Crazy. They don't recognize talent when they see it, and they stifle it out when they do.
Because, Lena, that's what they've always done. The Democrats have always been this very conservative, you don't do this, you don't say this.
Be nice to everyone.
You might be out in the limelight a bit more, la, la, la. But listen, fellas, girls, whatever the mixture is, you need to get off your backsides. You need to get out there and you need to start making a noise. Because those who shout the loudest, and the other side have had enough shouting. You've let them shout.
They've taken all the oxygen.
Enough shouting, enough talking, enough nonsense. It's like, shut the fuck up now.
Yep.
We need to get out there, and we need to be the loudest, biggest noise.
Exactly. And that has to happen in waves. Right? So people need to get organized. So when you're a bit tired of doing it and you need a few days off, another way.
Somebody else. Yep. And keep doing it. Look, years ago, and I just a very quick story. I know how all this works because years ago, my family were involved in an airline here called Compass Airlines. And I had about 4 of my family work for Compass Airlines. When Compass Airlines went down, I started the movement to get Compass back in the air. And it was a very, very interesting journey. I was in and out of, my brother used to say to me, oh, sis, when I turn on the news, you're always walking into some solicitor's office. But I was right there on the radio. When I got a bit tired, there was another group. I met some other people. It got moved into, at the time, the Southern Cross Hotel in Melbourne. But I understood that area incredibly well on if you want to have a voice, you got to get out there and get a voice. And
and people can do it in their own local areas and stuff.
But I haven't had the experience.
We've now got these big international platforms. So even if you're in Arkansas and you do your thing as being a blue dot there, it can be picked up by other platforms and magnified.
Well, look at the girls from I've Had It. I mean, they're in real, red states, but that doesn't, they don't hold back. They don't hold back at all, and they tell it just, I love them. They tell it just as it is, and they come out and say it. And as she said, they get trolled all the time by all these, MAGA people. And as they say, they don't give a shit. They don't care.
Yeah, that's the secret. That's the secret.
So I suppose the big thing here is that today is has been, I've thoroughly enjoyed it because we're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, and we can talk in shorthand
with the power, and it's sort of that is how I felt. I know Wallace felt the same. We've had conversations about this. What a great morning this has been.
We have to do it again.
We will do it again.
We've only just started.
We've only just begun. And I think there's lots more to say.
Look out, world.
And look out, America. Look out, world. Look out if we find anything out about you. We're going to have our say. So I think, it's been a great time.
Thank you.
Well, we will do this again. So thanks for having me on.
For coming along. Thank you, Jude, for being on. And more importantly, thank you to all of those viewers who have joined us from all over the world. We so appreciate you. We so appreciate having you. I'll end off with, when you go, I go with you. When I go, you go with me. You are forever in my heart, and thank you for being who you are and the amazing, wonderful people that you are that turn up every week. Thank you. Judy?
And I just want to make a quote from an amazing film that's a classic, where he looks up and he sees Ingrid Bergman and he says, of all the gin joints in all the world, you had to walk into mine. So from
all the YouTube channels you walked into,
and all the channels you could have been on, or anything there, I'm glad that you're all listening to this one. So from me, thanks, Wallace. Thanks, Lena.
Cheers.
And thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Lena. Thank you. Appreciate it.